Yesterday, we discussed Tucker Carlson calling out the Trump administration for reneging on its promises on immigration and how no matter which way you looked at it, right or left, it was a corporate giveaway. Well, actually, Tucker has a little bit of an insight into how exactly that process went down, and it's going to really piss you off no matter where you come from. Let's take a listen.
How do we get from a sincere effort, the president announced it and he meant it, judging from his first order, an effort to help suffering American workers, to what we have now, which is a hollow, almost entirely symbolic gesture? We talked to a lot of people about this today in Washington, a lot. And here's the story. Apparently, key White House aides were afraid of angering corporate leaders. For example, Apple CEO Tim Cook. Someone actually said that. What will Tim Cook think? Officials from the Department of Labor and the Council of Economic Advisors pushed for the vast guest worker exemption. They argued that the unemployment benefits in the coronavirus stimulus bill were so generous that American citizens would refuse to go back to work because it was easier just getting a government check. And so we have to bring in more foreigners.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that would be news to a lot of people who are struggling to file for unemployment. But the Tim Cook thing is particularly enraging. And this highlights something that I say here a lot on the show, which is that so many people who work for the Trump administration do not agree with the central premise on why he was elected in the first place.
Right.
That is typical Jeb Bush thinking. That is exactly the type of thinking that got the GOP to where it was, and they lose an easily winnable election against somebody like Barack Obama. And you can see, that's corporatism, right?
What would Tim Cook think?
Yeah, crafting your immigration policy so that Tim Cook is happy is corporatism. There is no other way to describe it. And it's disgusting that this elements continue. So much of the Trump administration, like I keep saying and saying it again, it has been internal contradictions based upon exactly things like this, which is staffing and with personnel, which is that when you take Wall Street corporatists and put them in government, they're going to behave like Wall Street corporatists.
Yeah.
They can continue to be Wall Street corporatists whenever they leave the Oval Office or the White House. This is what happens. To nobody, look, no matter what you think, Tim Cook should not be crafting United States immigration policy.
Or policy, period, especially now, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
It all comes down to who you are listening to. And again, wherever you are in the immigration debate, this is such a window into the way that this administration and previous administrations, by the way, actually operate. They don't have you in mind when they're making policy, when they're writing these executive orders. They're literally asking themselves, what are corporate CEOs going to say about this? Why? Because that's who funds their campaigns. Because that's who's going to give these staffers jobs after they leave the White House.
Right.
Because that is who can pick up the phone and call them, and they will actually answer their calls and listen to them. This is their social set. This is who they cater to, and that is the bottom line. And I also think, look, on the immigration thing, obviously we have different views on that overall, but I think most people would say that it's appropriate during a pandemic, when you have also massive millions and millions of Americans filing for unemployment every day, that a different immigration approach is appropriate during such a time versus normal times as well. But I think the window into the corporatism is really the thing here. And let's keep in mind, a lot of the folks that Trump has in this administration could just as easily be in a Joe Biden administration.
They could. Exactly.
That's the bipartisan consensus here.
And that's what makes me so angry, is that these CEA people saying, Americans are so lazy that they're sitting around collecting all this unemployment that they're not going to want to get to work. So that's why we got to bring in this cheap foreign labor. That is contempt. Contempt for your own citizens, contempt for the goodness within all of these people. You think these people like collecting unemployment and sitting at work? And do you think that foreign labor likes working for cheap wages, which are relatively higher than where they're from, and sending it back via Western Union? Nobody is benefiting through this system except big business, because cheap labor is good for them no matter which way it is. The government picks up the tabs of the American worker. Big business can pay less here, charge more to consumers, and it's all just one giant circle.
Yeah. And by the way, worth mentioning that reportedly Donald Trump in his own company has exploited some of these same programs to hire foreign workers at Mar-a-Lago and other of his resorts rather than trying even to find local workers.
Yeah, I've seen that reporting as well. And you know what? That's how business operates. I think it's terrible. And look, Trump is like so many of these things. He had the right instincts, actually tried to do it, undercut by his very own administration. And at a certain point, how many times can this keep happening? Tax bill, the wall, Now this. I mean, it's just like over and over. It's the executive branch. He runs it. And yet, so much of this is just administrative warfare. And it's why, actually, whenever we were talking, about a potential Sanders administration, I was like, look, you can have a movement all you want. You come into that White House, you have 5,000 people who work, for all these fancy little think tanks around town. They know exactly how to outmaneuver you if you're not exactly attentive and force them to do exactly what you want. This is a perfect example. Thanks to Tucker for highlighting.
Yes, because the flow in this town will always be to serve the corporatists, and unless you are adamantly opposed to that and making sure and checking and double checking that that is not actually who's driving policy, that is the status quo here.
Exactly.
Tomorrow on Rising, Congressman Ro Khanna is going to share the legislation that he is championing to help Americans suffering economically in the pandemic.
And NPR media correspondent David Folkenflik, he describes how Bloomberg News tried to kill an investigation into the Chinese Communist Party elites because it would jeopardize Bloomberg's relationship with that country. I was assured that was never going to happen.
As always, please like, share, and subscribe because we appreciate you all so much. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.
See you guys.